You've been drawing and painting for years, very skillfully, I might add.
Thank you.
But in recent years, your life as an artist has really gone through some exciting changes. Um, you started leading, you started and you were leading a burgeoning urban sketchers group in Billings. You're teaching classes at Crooked Line Studio. You're now president of Billings Arts Association, and you've started participating in the Montana Artrepreneur Program, which is quite involved. Um, how has your life changed?
A lot. um, Up until about 3 years ago, I was working. And I've been an artist for about 25 years, but I've been a closet artist for 25 years. Nobody really knew about it except immediate family. I was in manufacturing, so art was kind of never really encouraged in my family. It was never discouraged, but it was never really encouraged. And it was a career in industry. Not a lot of people. It's not something that people get really excited about. Oh, you paint in your spare time. They want you to play golf or something like that. So I never really told anybody about it. And about when on my retirement, I always loved art and I always wanted to do more with art. So it was really a good opportunity for me to get more involved in art. Unfortunately, we were right in the middle of a pandemic, so it was really kind of hard to do. So the one thing I did do to kind of start this is I joined the Billings Arts Association. I did it online, and it was a very kind of confused time for the Arts Association, but it was really kind of a start to get everything, to start meeting other artists in Billings, to start doing things in Billings. So it was really retirement that caused me to get more involved in art locally, and it was a good thing. It was a lot of fun. Ask me more questions.
Has this time period also, how has it changed your art, the process or the product?
I don't know that it's changed the process or the product much. I mean, I don't know if I should say that. I guess urban sketching is something that's changed a lot. I didn't do that before I got to Billings. I thought about doing it for years, and I followed urban sketchers online, and I tried to. I practiced urban sketching at home using photographs, which is not urban sketching, right? But I mean, I kind of prepared myself by drawing a lot of buildings and things from photographs. In Billings, on my retirement, I started to do it. And I remember, and I was thinking about this today because this last weekend we went down to down 2nd Street, 2nd and Broadway near the Northern Hotel, and we sketched one of the other buildings there. And the first building I sketched in Billings was the Northern Hotel. And I sketched it with Dan Granger, who's part of Crooked Line Studios, and Sarah Beth Guilford, who is one of Crooked Line's friends, I guess friends of the family. And I was thinking about that when I was sketching the building, how interesting it was that, how full circle this has come, and I love the urban sketching part of it. So that's the one thing that's probably changed. But my studio art really hasn't changed a whole lot. And I wish it would. I try to do different things, trying to do different things. The one thing that has changed a lot is being involved in the Art Association, being involved in the MAP program, being involved with urban sketchers. I guess I see a lot of art. So there's just a tremendous amount of inspiration out there for me. Things to see, to try to emulate, to try to do better. And it's kind of humbling sometimes how good some of these people are, especially my urban sketchers. Some of the folks who sit on the street corners with me are really, really good. And it's a little bit humbling to see what they do. So it's fun.
In your urban sketching experiences, you are out in amid the general public with people out and about, and I understand that you enjoy actually talking to people, to strangers, and you've done some really kind things for people.
Well, I think more people have done kind things for me than I've done kind things for people. But yeah, and that's a big change, I guess, in my life too, because I'm an introvert, or I have been an introvert all my life, and introverts would say, boy, that guy's introverted, because I have been. I pretty much, in my work life, it was all pretend, pretend to enjoy meetings, pretend to enjoy going out with your coworkers, and not that they were bad people or anything, but it was really always uncomfortable for me to do that. Just getting out and about with the people in the city and sitting on a street corner and having people come up to you and talk to you, it's kind of eye-opening, it's eye-opening how nice people are, and I guess I guess in my work days, I was always expecting people to be judgmental, right? I don't know why, but I was always expecting people to be judgmental. So you'd always worry about, well, what do they think of me, at work, if I do this job, or if I ask somebody to do a project, or if something what are people thinking of me? And you think when you go on a street, sit on a street corner, you can have people come by and say, oh, right, what is he drawing? That looks terrible. But that absolutely furthest from the truth. And the people who do come by and chat with us, they usually compliment you on your art. And if they don't compliment you on your art, they appreciate what you're doing, that you're out there having fun and sitting with a bunch of people urban sketching. And you run into some, really, really interesting people on the street. I mean, there's a fair homeless population in Billings. And, some of the interactions that I've had with the homeless people in Billings is eye-opening. How nice they are and how lucky we are, not to be in that position. And it just leaves you it also leaves you kind of humbled, wishing that, thinking about how, blessed we are in our world and how difficult life is for other people. So that was really eye-opening for me, and enjoyable. Enjoy talking to those people, enjoy talking to anybody I run into on the street. Joel and I ran into a couple what religion? Mormons, and they invited us up to their church to see the grounds, and it was really interesting. Really nice people. They didn't really expect anything. We told them we're not going to change our religion for you, but they said that's okay. We just want you to see our campus. So we went up there and kind of spent an hour or two wandering around and got a kind of a nice tour of the exterior of the building and a lot of information about Mormonism that I never knew before, and I would have never done that back 20 years ago. And I would have never done that if we weren't sitting on the street corner sketching, and these two young girls came up and said, hey, what are you guys doing, right? So, those little connections that you make in art, and it's not just urban sketching, but in art, those little connections are priceless to me, and so different than my past life, so completely different than my past life. It's nothing short of amazing, So.
Are you familiar with the work of Maxfield Parish?
I am not.
Okay, he was a very, very renowned artist whose work I am extremely fond of. Poor guy, he had to make art to pay for his true passion, which was being a machinist. Maxfield Parish. I'll text you that name. Anyway, is there time for another question?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're talking, we can edit what we don't like out of this.
Yeah,
that's right.
Maxfield, I mean, that's, to me, a machinist is an artist. There's beauty in. I started off in business at 17 years old, running engine lathes, milling machines, and drill presses and things like that for my dad in his factory, his little crane factory in Milwaukee. And there's beauty in machining. There's beauty in machinery. There's beauty in that stuff. I was at, I don't know if you know Will Crane. Joel does, but
yeah, we do.
With Will Crane, he's one of our MSUB sketchers at the Life Drawing Session, and we've kind of connected up a little bit. And he invited me out to his. He just moved to a new place. And he has a new studio, and he's pretty proud of it. He invited me out to his studio. But Will works in stone. He chisels stone. It's like a machinist for rocks. It's beautiful. It's amazing. To see what these guys can do and what he can do and how passionate he is about what he does. I told him, tell me next time you're going to start chiseling on a stone, man. I want to come out and watch you do that, because that's like machining. You're making something beautiful out of a raw piece of something. And it's nothing more than a machinist. A machinist does exactly the same thing. So that's kind of an interesting correlation, because he makes one kind of art so he can afford to make another kind of art, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
I wanted a map one of our MAP cohort members is Cynthia Handel, and she's a sculptor. Amazing things, pours metal, welds metal, you know. I mean, just really amazing things, you know. And to see her, you know, some sculptures are quite small, but some of them are 6 to 8 feet tall and weigh 400 pounds. It's no different than a machinist, you know, except it's her internal vision is turning into something beautiful, which is pretty neat. I like that. I think it's exciting.
Cool. That's a wonderful take on that. I'm curious, can you describe, or do you feel like describing, a time period or a circumstance in your life when art served you as a sanctuary?
Well, yeah, I can. Certainly when I was working, the job I had, I retired as vice president of operations for an international company. And it was a tremendously high-stress job. And art gave me an opportunity to focus on something so completely that that background noise goes away. And when you're in a high-stress, whenever you're in a high-stress situation, it's hard to get, unless you're really a good meditator, which I've never been, but unless you're that, it's really hard to get that background noise to go away. So when I was in a high-stress situation, a high-stress job, art was a sanctuary. I could sit, art and fly fishing. I could sit at my, in my little upstairs bedroom studio and spend 2-3 hours on a painting and be so intent and so focused on what I was doing that the background noise was gone. And that's all I could do. It's like fly. I always equate it to fly fishing because it's the same thing. If you're not paying 100% attention to what you're doing, the cast, the drift, where the fish might be, you're going to end up with your fly in a tree, climbing trees all day, retrieving flies, which I've done, even when I am concentrating. but I mean, it's the same thing. And then, of course, the big one, of course, when my wife passed away about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. And that was a pretty dark time in my life, and art, and connecting up with the Art Association, and starting to meet people. You guys, were huge help for me. I remember sitting in the first art shop I went to at McCormick's, and I think, Joel, you guys were sitting in the corner, you came in late, and I think Joel said something about, because we were doing, and he said, and he's a good writer. I don't know, do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but he said that, and it just struck me as just amazing, And I think from that point, I think we got together and we did a little urban sketching on your back porch. But I mean, that was a big moment for me. That was really important. I met 2 spectacular people in my life. But when my wife passed away, it was really a dark time, and I really needed a release, and I needed something to get my mind off of that, and art helped. Once it solved the problem, obviously that's not something that's so easy to, it's not like work stress, it's a little more than that, but art was really a good place to go when I needed a break from my mind, I guess. So that was a big time.
One of the Crooked Line Studio courses you've taught is Sketch Your Life. I got the title right, yeah?
Right.
Sketch Your Life.
Sketchbook Your Life.
Sketchbook Your Life. So through venues like that and other ways that you influence the art community, you influence other people, do you ever think about the fact that you could be co-creating the conditions for art to be a sanctuary for someone else?
I hope so. I mean, I think that's the whole idea behind that course, and is that there's an easy way, and you don't have to be a professional artist. You don't have to be great at drawing or any of that. But there is a way to capture those small moments in your life, whatever they are, And we all have a zillion small moments in our life every day. But to take some of those small moments that are fairly meaningful to you and find a way to document them, and document them in a way that you can go back sometime later and see them. So by doing that, it helps people, break away from the day-to-day, hopefully helps clear some of those, stuff that's going on in your mind, that background noise in your mind, and allows you to focus on what's right in front of us. and document it, and maybe write some notes or something that is meaningful to you about the experience, even though it's not a huge, earth-shattering experience. Whatever it is, it's meaningful. And then having that in a format, in a sketchbook format, where you can someday later on in life page through it. It's to me, it's better than a photograph.